So this was, just to give you a little background to it, here's direct sunlight, midday, for an ad, a fashion ad for Saks Fifth Avenue. And you know, midday light is cold and everything else. This was shot on transparency film. So I used a Tiffin sepia filter with a slight touch. It's not soft focus, but I just wanted to get the edge off. So it's a slight softness with the filter. So it just gives a pleasing look and exposing for the highlight. So it has a drama to it and so forth. So that's with direct sunlight, using a filter, not using Photoshop in any way, because it was done on transparency film.
Did you not bounce any light back the other way at that?
No, never. In other words, it's directional light. I don't want to fill it. I wanted to do it is. It's a good question, because in order to do the exposure, right? Don't forget what I had around the room was bouncing it enough, because there was enough white to bounce back. But to keep that look in a directional light, I would expose, I wouldn't expose directly for example, if I had a handheld meter, I would use the meter not right to the highlight and not right to the camera. If I used it to the camera, it would pick up too much of the shadow area to do it. If I did it to the window, it would pick up too much to the window. So I do it 3/4. That's incandescent, you know, as far as the reflective light in between the window and the camera. So it would be the average, you know, with that. But I would not use a fill filter at all, especially with a non-commercial thing. If I was doing a commercial beauty shot, I might have one there to see if I needed it, but I don't want to use a film card. I'd rather turn the model to keep the feeling of the directional light.
Hey, Robert, it looks like there's a little bit of blue tint to it. Do you adjust the color temperature?
No way to adjust the color temperature. This is transparency slide film. So what you shot is what you got. No Photoshop. And when I shot this at that time, there was no Photoshop. So this is the original transparency. And it's just the coolness of the light itself. And I never adjusted it since that time. Now, if I wanted to do it now and do it in Photoshop, I could probably finesse it a little bit and put a slight bit of warmth into it that would create the wood. But that's the way it's always been.
Robert, you've asked me or suggested that I try to focus on what really I like and enjoy. And this does go back almost 50 years or over 50 years when I was doing lights at Southern Oregon University for the rock concerts. And
oh, really?
It was like, okay, here's this big ballroom, and it's just gray and white walls, and it turned into something imaginary, an illusion, if you will, but playing with light or painting with light. And so these are the newest of the photos that I've made, trying to focus not on being good about everything, but being really good at one thing.
Well, it's great. Yeah, I mean, to put together a whole, a book, a portfolio, or exhibition, or whatever, based on all of these things, and focusing in that one direction, I think, is great. You have a great eye, and some of these things that we've seen before, and like this, I love. I think it's great.
And it was just not a really long shot, but it was a slightly long exposure because it's moonlight. And so the moon is not totally sharp because the moon moves during.
And it doesn't have to be, that's for sure. So, yeah, it just works so well. But the subtleties of the gradations in the grass, the tones of it, and then the warmth of the window in the house, you really have to appreciate it. Look at it directly on your computer. It's difficult to see in this size like that, but I think it's very special.
Thank you.
It's a really great example of the assignment, because he did 3 different types of light based on the assignment. And of course, the light with the flare from the back, and then the way the light hit her face beautifully. So all in that one assignment, there's 3 great examples. It's just a nice variation and great use of light. And it's really nice how everybody has such a different look of what they were doing with it. She put 3 great, strong portraits, really, really good, excellent portraits, Karen.
Thank you.
And with a well-told story about it. But between the contrast, the drama of the light, the look of whether it's their skin or the light, each one is really strong portrait. And I thought it was a beautiful, dramatic image. But I said I would take off the bottom third of it in the foreground because the drama of the overall photograph, well, you see what I had mentioned on it.
Yeah, I
So if
agree
you
with that. I
remove-
actually put my hand against it to see the bottom third, and it says, yeah, I can see that now.
Yeah, because if you did that, the strength of it and so forth, and without manipulating it in any way, you could just even increase the contrast slightly and make it a little bit darker, and it would even add to the drama of the image itself.
I appreciate your comments.
Did you go through a bunch of different options until you settle on each one of these variations?
Yes, I have played with a lot of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I photographed some windows in an empty room. So the window light in an empty room and combine that with the photos.
And another thing that you might want to think about, composition-wise, to add something more to it. Yeah, see, like that looks great in that sense, and so does the other. But it looks nice like that. But think of a Dutch angle to add more tension or drama to it, where you can come in and tilt it, and you Dutch it, you tilt it, and put it off, going off to this on a little bit of an angle. Sometimes I like to come in really tight and get more drama out of it. In other words, get it off, like if it's on a tripod or whatever, get it off and just play with it in ways that you didn't even think of, and just explore it afterwards. And and you'd be surprised what you might come up with to really push it in a different way you weren't thinking of.
Yeah, I didn't get to do too post-production stuff on it. It was just
and I'm not talking about post-production either. And anything I talk about is not post-production, because my emphasis is always on the shooting with the camera at the time you're shooting. And post-production, after that, but that's not the emphasis that I have.
Very good.
I mean, I'm in, since moving here in Colorado in November, I'm in 5 different galleries, and I do sell them online as well.
And are you doing the photography full-time?
I am now, yes.
Great.
Yep.
How are you approaching
great.
the gallery?
I literally just approach them, to be honest with you. I've been doing it for a while, even though it's not full-time. But like Robert came to my show, that was 2013 back then. I've been doing it even before then.
Wow.
And, and I have a lot of, credibility to magazines and books and a lot of juried shows and all that. And so basically I will send an email to a gallery and I will lay all that out. I like using logos. National Geographic picked up one of my images, and Canon Camera has bought from me, and Hahnemuhle Paper used my images in the Javits Center. So I always use the logos. And this way they can see really quickly that the work has been recognized or utilized by somebody that they would know. And, of course, it always comes down to whether they like the work. It's funny, Robert, the show in New York, it was 2 years after I did one of those portfolio reviews in Manhattan. And the lady, she loved the work and said, we'll be in touch. 2 years later, I got an email and ended up getting a solo show there. So you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, but most of it's just approaching them, show them the work and where it's been, pretty much in a nutshell.
And of course, creating, an edition that's a limited edition, and also don't show that you're selling your work on your website.
Right.
Because you're competing with the gallery that you want to get with.
Right. No, I don't. I show the images, but they're not for sale on them. Right.
We want to give the signature style for this month to Alfred. We are sharing Alfred's video earlier, and it's a signature style. It's as signature as you can get. He's using his Hasselblad, always on film, and black and white across genres, but most of it is street photography. But there's a great contemporary feel to this. The portraiture of his daughter here that he just posted, Alfred, and of course the video that we just watched with the Jazz Age lawn party. And Alfred's been posting for for a while, and he has, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw you're working on a book, Alfred, of your street photography, which goes all the way back until the 1980s, if I'm not mistaken, where this images comes from.
Yeah, the book
actually,
is specific to the last exhibit I had, but then I will be working on another book after that, which will give the timeline of what I've done for all these years.
So yeah, that's who we want. That's what we're going to give the Signature Style Award for this month, and we'll be featuring Alfred on our social media. And you have such a wide variety. You have so many images. You say you shoot every day, but Alfred is a really great example of a person who's found his style and he sticks with it. You can see his eye no matter where you go. When you go into a gallery, you say, that has to be this artist, this has to be Alfred, because I have seen him do this similar composition. I know the subject matter, I see the feel, the character of each image across subject matter. So that's
if you scroll down to the next one.
Yeah, this is just
he sold that to Spike Lee.
Yeah.
What was that, the
Mr.
80s?
Lee to you.
Nice.
What, Alfred?
Mr. Lee to you.
Oh, okay, right. To Mr. Spike. He sold out and he's in the Museum of the City of New York with some of his New York street pictures.